Hey guys, welcome back to AFI Friday. Today we're doing the 98th movie on the top 100 American movies on the AFI list, which is Unforgiven. But before we get into the Unforgiven, quick admin note, if you do like what you see here, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. It helps grow my channel greatly, and guys, I truly appreciate it. Now, let's get on to the review. Quick synopsis. Bill Money is brought out of retirement to bring justice to two guys that decided to cut up on a woman. Unforgiven was first released on August 7th, 1992, directed by Clint Eastwood, also starring Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, and Morgan Freeman. I will say that when this movie first came out, I did see it, but it was in my teenage years, and I think I went into it kind of expecting something and getting something else. Like, as a teenager, I heard this was a Clint Eastwood Western, and I was thinking big action scenes, big set, Western fighting. And even though we do get the Western, we do get some great action scenes in this movie, as a kid, as a teenager, I think I didn't get enough of it. I thought this movie was boring at that time. So when people down the line were saying Unforgiven is this great movie, I kind of had my doubts on this movie. And I talk about it a little bit more, just a different perspective of watching it as a teenager and now watching it as a guy in his 40s. I learned and saw a few different things. First up, we get Clint Eastwood, who plays Bill Money. As I said in my synopsis, he's a guy that's been retired for a number of years. He used to be a thief and, I don't know, what would you call him, a gunslinger. And he just wants to be left alone. He married, he has 2 kids, and he's just moved out into the middle of nowhere to raise pigs. He wants people to forget about Bill Money, the guy, that was the gunslinger back in the day. And that's kind of where we start seeing the duality, right? Because Bill Money wants to be left alone, but this young gunslinger that wants to hire him or bring him on board as a partner sees him as all the stories and rumors that were brought up about Bill Money, this deadly gunslinger that killed whoever got in his way just because of it. And that's not who Bill Money is anymore. He's a different guy. At first, he doesn't want to take this job. He thinks it's past his time. He's moved on. He just wants life to go on pretty much without him anymore. But when we get that decision that Bill Money wants to, finally decides to take the job, he passes by his friend, Ned Logan, who is played by Morgan Freeman. And Ned's in the same predicament as Bill is. He just wants to live that normal life. He's now a farmer. He's married. I don't know if he had kids or not. I can't remember if there was any kids in the background. But he's loyal to Bill. And when Bill says, hey, guy, hey, Ned, there's this one last job I want to do, and these 2 guys really cut up this girl really badly. We need to, bring justice to these guys. And it doesn't hurt that the bounty is $1,000, especially back in that day. Excuse me. So Ned, being the loyal friend that he is, puts everything down, puts everything aside, and joins Bill on this journey. And then we get Gene Hackman's character. He plays Little Bill Draggett, who is pretty much, I do believe, a retired gunslinger as well. That's pretty much put on the star for being a sheriff in this, little town called Big Whiskey. And his law is pretty much final. And you see this throughout the movie, where if you go against Little Bill, you're going to be met with harshly. Be it whipped, be it kicked and beaten up, or being killed pretty much. If you go against Little Bill, you better be able to back it up, pretty much. And speaking about Little Bill and being able to back it up, I think one of the best scenes we got in this movie was the scene between Little Bill and Bob English. Or English Bob, sorry. Played by, I do believe, Richard Harris. And both actors are really great, and it shows in this film, in this movie, in this scene, where English Bob has told Little Bill's deputy that he doesn't have a firearm. Because once you come into this town, you're supposed to surrender your firearms. And English Bob is like, son, you don't see no sidearm here on me, do you? And of course the deputy, who's this young kid, is not going to try to challenge this guy. He knows a veteran gunslinger when he sees one. So of course he goes and gets Little Bill and the posse, and Little Bill confronts him. And just the writing is really well done. The acting is really well done. You get this tension of will they, won't they who's going to pull their gun first. And all the way up to the end, you're thinking, man, this could have gone either way. Both of these guys did a really great job selling you this tension. The dialogue was excellent. You know, it was probably one of the best scenes in this movie. And then we transition to another scene. Little Bill is talking to this fellow named, I'm going to probably butcher his name because I'm not really great with French, Beauchamp, who's played by Sal Rubnik. If you haven't seen anything of Sal Rubnik, please go out there and do that right now or after this video. He is a great actor as well. There's tons of great actors in this movie. But Sal is playing this, playing this writer that was following English Bob around and said, you know, writing down his stories, his biography, and selling them, you know, pretty much giving you these tall tales. And Little Bill comes to read one of these stories and is like, English Bob didn't do that, or this is not how it went down. And so Little Bob goes about explaining how a true showdown between gunslingers really happens. And it's great foreshadowing for scenes that happen later on in this movie between, you know, two gunslingers really. And again, it's just one of those things where the writing is really good. Gene Hackman delivers a really great, you know, dialogue in that scene. Props to Gene Hackman. He's a great actor and he knows how to, you know, sell you on the scene. And pretty much everybody in the scene, Sal and, you know, Richard as well, just their performances just draw you in and you're wanting to hear what's happening next, how this gunslinger really operates. Another great scene, love it. And one of the things I'm learning, because I've been going to some film classes and even watching online, is I want to give props to the crew, especially the crew that did these establishing shots. They are beautiful. They are these long takes. They're just, you know, grandiose, and it shows the scale of kind of where we're coming from in this Unforgiven land. And also other props to the building crew that built Big Whiskey. They built this town from the ground up, and they were given pretty much, I'd say, an unreachable, you know, timeline. They had to build this town within like 2 months so that way they could get production started. And it was just crazy. And there's also this production didn't want cars and trucks going on the set to ruin the virgin land. There was just all kinds of things. But again, practical effect in this town. Everything was built. You know, you follow the camera up the stairs into the room. It's all there. It's not stopped. It's not edited. You know, I'm sure it's edited, but they could have done it in a one take kind of deal. Again, props. I love practical effects. And when you can meet an unmanageable deadline like 2 months, it's always great. But if I did have one complaint, and I give props to the rain department for making this rain, because Calgary, where they shot this movie, Calgary, where they shot this movie, was in a dry spell. So all the rain scenes that this movie called for had to be manufactured. And those scenes were great. They're beautiful. I love, again, seeing real rain coming down onto a set. But the negative of it was the sound. I don't know what caused it, but it was kind of a low drum. And once I caught on to this drumming, humming, buzzing noise in the background, every time it rained, you could tell that the audio switched up, which kind of sucked. And, you know, it just took you out of it real quick. But in summary, guys, Unforgiven is probably one of the best modern Westerns out there. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go see it. I'm giving it 4 Sheps out of 5. It's great, but not perfect. There's things wrong with it. One of the things being the rain. I could have gone into other things that were wrong with it, but I figured I wanted to focus on the acting was really well done. Gene Hackman, Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman kill it in this movie. Delivered some great performances. The scenery, the establishing shots were really well done. The practical build was great. Again, guys, if you haven't seen Unforgiven, do yourself a favor. Go find it now. I give it 4 Sheps out of 5. And As always, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the next review.